Section 1. Title: This Act shall be known as the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995. Section 2. Declaration of Policy. The state shall value the dignity of every individual, enhance the development of its human resources, guarantee full respect for human rights, and uphold the dignity of workers, employees, applicants for employment, students or those undergoing training, instruction, or education. Towards this end, all forms of sexual harassment in the employment, education, or training environment are hereby declared unlawful.
Section 3. Work, education, or training-related sexual harassment defined. Work, education, or training-related sexual harassment is committed by an employer, employee, manager, supervisor, agent of the employer, teacher, instructor, professor, coach, trainer, or any other person having authority, influence, or moral ascendancy over another in a work or training or education environment, demands, requests, or otherwise requires any sexual favor from the other, regardless of whether the demand, request, or requirement for submission is accepted by the object of said act. Section 4. Duty of the employer or head of office in work-related, education, or training environment. It shall be the duty of the employer or the head of the work-related, educational, or training environment or institution to prevent or deter the commission of acts of sexual harassment and to provide the procedures for the resolution, settlement, or prosecution of acts of sexual harassment. Section 5. Liability of the employer, head of office, educational, or training institution. The employer or head of office, educational, or training institution shall be solidarily liable for damages arising from the acts of sexual harassment committed in the employment, education, or training environment if the employer or head of office, educational, or training institution is informed of such acts by the offended party and no immediate action is taken.
Section 6. Independent action for damages. Nothing in this act shall preclude the victim of work, education, or training-related sexual harassment from instituting a separate and independent action for damages and other affirmative relief. Section 7. Penalties. Any person who violates the provisions of this act shall, upon conviction, be penalized by imprisonment of not less than 1 month, nor more than 6 months, or a fine of not less than 10,000 pesos, nor more than 20,000 pesos, or both such fine and imprisonment at the discretion of the court. Section 8. Separability clause. If any portion or provision of this act is declared void or unconstitutional, the remaining portions or provisions hereof shall not be affected by such declaration. Section 9. Repealing clause. All laws, decrees, orders, rules and regulations, other issuances, or parts thereof inconsistent with the provisions of this act are hereby repealed or modified accordingly. Section 10. Effectivity clause. This act shall take effect 15 days after its complete publication in at least 2 national newspapers of general circulation.